you in your 30s or your 40s, or do you know somebody in their 30s or 40s who is exhausted from the dating experience? And if you had to ask them to put it in their own words, they'll probably equate the dating experience to auditioning for a reality show called Red Flags Galore. If you happen to fall in that category, or if you know somebody who falls in that category, welcome aboard. Today we're going to be talking about 5 dating or relationship red flags, particularly for people in their 30s and 40s. And if you happen to be new here, welcome to Evolve with Natu. My name is Natu. In this channel, we talk about a lot of things, but particularly about self-improvement, self-development, and different lifestyle topics. And a friendly reminder, if you haven't already, kindly make sure that you subscribe to this channel and make sure that you invite your family and friends to subscribe to the channel so that we can see our family grow. So, without further ado, let's get started. First, relationship or dating red flag for people in their 30s and or 40s. Poor communication skills. I'm 39 and I feel like the older I get, or the older I have gotten rather, life seems to have gotten a bit complex. You have more responsibilities, whether it's personally, whether it's financially, professionally. And as such, I find it's imperative to have a partner that you can navigate life with together and being able to communicate through those challenges, through those complexities. And having a partner who cannot communicate clearly, who lacks the communication skills, is a red flag. And communication skills go both ways. So a person who also cannot express themselves when they're having a difficult time or they're experiencing difficulties, that's also a red flag rather. So a red flag to me, or poor communication skills to me, look like somebody who lacks empathy when they're communicating, lacks respect, and lacks honesty. That for me is a no. And it goes both ways. When they're expressing themselves or when they're listening to other people. That's red flag number 1. Red flag number 2 is complacency. So what does complacency also look like? Complacency is a person who, simply put, has refused to grow. And growth in different aspects of life. It could be personally, it could be professionally, financially, spiritually, you name it. A person who is comfortable with the status quo. In your 30s and 40s, at this point, you should have probably achieved a certain level of success. Look at my gap tooth getting in the way. Personally and hopefully professionally. And if you haven't and you're comfortable with that, I don't know. To me, that screams a red flag. And if you're not finding means, because it's one thing for you not to be able to grow, but you're finding a way to grow. But if you're okay with that, it's definitely bound to fail, being with a person who strives to be better, strives to grow, strives to reach certain heights. So yeah, I don't need to explain further. That's red flag number 2. Red flag number 3, financial irresponsibility. I feel like this should have been number 1, but I'll get a lot of flack. So hear me out. A person who's struggling to pay bills because they lost their job unexpectedly. A person who's fighting to make ends meet because they unfortunately encountered an unforeseen difficult situation. That's different. A person who is constantly spending without thinking about tomorrow, who's not investing, who's not thinking about rainy days, that's financial responsibility. Especially if you're at an age where you're thinking about long-term investments, whether it's in a house, whether it's financial investment, whether it's starting a family. If you meet somebody who's financially responsible and who does not think about rainy days and all they think about is spending, you gotta nip that in the bud. That's a red flag. Let it go. And just on a personal note, I remember I used to date a guy, and this was in my 20s, by the way. This is something that I overlooked in my 20s, and I'm, oh my, I look back and I'm like, whew. But anyways, I digress. I used to date a guy when I was in my late 20s, and he used to have a bill at a bar where he would go and drink on credit, and then he would sort the bill at the end of the month. And these people are really nice. I think he would go a month or two without sorting the bill, and then he'll come and sort it out. And at one point, he had gotten into a financial bind, and I think he had gone like little over 4 5 months. And these people started calling, and I remember thinking, over a beer, really? Well, it wasn't a beer, a couple of beers, but it's different if you could not pay your kids' tuition because you got laid off from a job, but these people are calling you a collection of a payment for a beer. I don't know about you, but to me, that had me running fast. Usain Bolt had nothing on me. So that's red flag number 3. Red flag number 4, misalignment of goals and values. So most of us, depending on our upbringing, most of our values are as a result of the families that we come from, the environment that we come from. And I know those value systems tend to evolve over the time. I'd like to think my values rather have evolved. Most of them are the same, but some have evolved. However, regardless of how your value system is, whether it's changed, whether it's the same, it's important to have a partner who shares or whose values are also in alignment with yours, whether it's believing in God, whether it's wanting to grow and doing better. If a person doesn't have the same goals, or rather not goals rather, but if your value system is not aligned, things are bound to fail. Same for goals. If you have a vision maybe of growing to certain heights, or if you have a vision maybe every year you want to travel to a certain destination, a person doesn't have the same goals, doesn't have the same vision of you as you, chances are things are not going to work. And for me, that's just a clear red flag. So it's imperative, it's paramount to find a person who not only meets your, looks good. I've not always been crazy about looks. I've always been crazy about intelligence, but intelligence is good, but you also have to have values and goals that are aligning with mine. And also for people in your 30s and 40s, I think that this is a non-negotiable. And last but not least, a person who comes with an unresolved emotional baggage. So this is one of the things that I heavily overlooked in my 20s. I used to just think, I like him, he likes me, I like the colors he likes, and I didn't have those difficult conversations until something challenging happened. And then I realized, oh boy, the way this person handles this, you could just see how much emotional baggage he's carrying and how much that's weighing on you. And especially for women, most of us feel like we can fix men or we can fix our partners. And a person can't be fixed unless they want to fix themselves. So instead of you hoping that you'll get into a relationship, you'll help him go into therapy or resolve his emotional baggage in a way that you and him or you and her think is best, let them work on themselves first. I think you maybe have that room in your late teens, 20s, early 20s, but the time you hit 30s, you also have to look out for yourself first. And a person who comes with emotional baggage, unresolved emotional baggage, and they're not doing anything about it, they're bound to also weigh you down. So for me, that's a red flag, and it's a no-no. Dealing with such person, it's like navigating a maze with a blindfold. You're more than likely you'll end up in a dead end. And if you make it out alive, good for you. Now, those are my 5 dating red flags. I am curious to hear for the people in their 30s and 40s, or if you surpass this age group, or if you're in a younger age group, what are your dating and relationship red flags? And for those of you who are already in a relationship, what are the red flags that you had overlooked and you're like, oh boy, I should have probably taken note of this, but hey, here I am now. What is it that I can do? Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a pleasure. Until next time, make sure that you subscribe to this channel and you have a lovely week. Bye-bye.